My name is Jacob Glick. I'm the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at Rogers, and it's my pleasure, on behalf of Rogers, to introduce the Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, the Honourable Amarjeet Sohi. As we all know, without the appropriate infrastructure investment, innovation cannot flourish. The tens of billions of dollars invested by the telecommunications sector proves this rule. As some of the most active internet users in the world, Canadians demand the very best from our networks, and Canada's unique geography and population density mean that we invest more than Europeans or Americans to make Canadian networks world-leading. These investments produce cascades of innovation, driving job creation, growth, and creativity across sectors of the entire Canadian economy. And at Rogers, we believe that Canada must exploit this opportunity to enhance its competitiveness globally. That's why we've been investing to upgrade our networks in communities across the country, including in Edmonton, the hometown of our next speaker. Minister Sohi was a three-time Edmonton City Councillor and passionate advocate in his community, where he served on the Police Commission and represented his city at the Canadian Urban Transit Association. His leadership in creating an inclusive, welcoming city includes the immigration, multiculturalism, and racism-free Edmonton initiatives, and being the recipient of both the Edmonton Interfaith Advocate Award and the John Humphrey Centre Human Rights Advocate Award. Elected as Member of Parliament for Edmonton Millwoods in 2015, Minister Sohi will celebrate his one-year anniversary as Minister of Infrastructure and Communities today. He's already made his mark, launching the first phase of Canada's 10-year infrastructure program. With infrastructure and investments at the heart of innovation, our next speaker will be a vital player in Canada's innovation agenda. So please join me in welcoming the Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, the Honourable Minister Amarjeet Sohi. Minister. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jacob, for that kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Susan and Tim for inviting me to this conference, and welcome to Ottawa. Ottawa is my home away from home, right? So it's a nice place to be in, and I'm enjoying the hospitality and the warmth welcome that people of Ottawa has given me. In spirit of innovation means you take chances, right? So I'm using the teleprompter first time. So if I do make mistakes, I'm pretty sure all of you understand that sometimes innovation fails, right? And that you will definitely forgive me for doing that. It's absolutely a tremendous honor and privilege to join you once again. It was nearly a year ago that I delivered my first speech as Minister of Infrastructure and Communities here at Canada 2020. And there couldn't be a better timing to tell you more about what our government has done and is planning to do for infrastructure in this country. As Jacob has said, tomorrow will mark 1 year since our cabinet was appointed, and we were given a very ambitious agenda. And 2 days ago, my colleague, Mr. Morneau, unveiled the fiscal framework for our long-term infrastructure plan. As you all know, Canada 2020 plays an important role in bringing people and ideas together, fostering the innovation that is needed to help build strong and inclusive Canada, something that I am very, very passionate about. They are the thought leaders in the progressive space in Canada, and we are lucky to have them. The focus of this year's conference is timely: Canada's innovation agenda. It is about laying the foundation for Canada's future. While infrastructure may seem to some as the opposite of innovation, I would like to posit that smart, strategic infrastructure investments build the foundation which in which innovation, upon which innovation resides. The infrastructure we fund build the cities and communities that thrive and where innovation thrives. I think that innovation and infrastructure are directly linked in two ways. How do we build the cities and communities where innovators want to live and can drive their ideas and companies? And secondly, how can we make infrastructure itself more innovative? But before I explore these two areas, let me take a moment to share how infrastructure provided me the opportunity to grow, to serve my community, and to serve my country. I truly believe that I stand here today not only as Minister of Infrastructure, but as Minister because of infrastructure. Let me tell you what I mean. As some of you may know, I lived in India until I was 18 years old. It was a simple, though not an easy life. My older brother had immigrated to Canada, and eventually he sponsored us to move to Edmonton. I remember getting off the plane on November 21st in the evening and thinking to myself that this is the coldest I will ever be in all my life. And mind you, I thought the same thing every day for the next few months. As you can imagine, it was all very shocking. A new country, a new climate, and a new language. And people have this obsession with ice hockey. I have never had seen people move so fast on ice before in my life. So what got me through those early days were places like the public library, a welcoming place, but literally a warmer place where I could study and read and learn a new language. What helped me were the community centers where I could meet with other newcomers. And because I loved acting, where I could perform in plays. What helped me get settled were buses, which took me to school, to work, to public parks, where I could play soccer. Each of these things, the libraries where I learned, the community centers where I performed, the fields that I played on, and the buses that took me to all these places, unlocked a world of opportunity for me. And what is remarkable about all this is not that my story is special, but how absolutely universal it is. Ask anyone who has come to Canada from somewhere else or moved to an urban center from a rural community, and they would tell you that our public infrastructure helped them to realize their full potential. And in fact, later on in life, I became a City of Edmonton bus driver. My wife, who's here today, likes to say that my career has come a full circle. I went from paying for the bus to collecting fares for the bus, and now as a minister, I'm back paying for the buses again. So as a bus driver, what I saw every day on my route were people, my neighbors, going to doctor's appointments, going to work, visiting family, or going out for the evening to be entertained. Not just fulfilling their economic potential, but realizing and expanding their essential human potential. And transit infrastructure enabled all of that. It strengthens our economy for sure, but builds communities too, makes them more livable, and makes them more sustainable. So, friends, we know that Canada's infrastructure demands have outpaced investments for decades. And make no mistake, underfunding infrastructure has a cost, and it is significant. It causes boil water advisories that affect our entire communities. It causes traffic congestion that stifles the productivity of our workers and our businesses. It means that our seniors have a harder time accessing essential services. It means a lack of quality childcare. It means a lack of affordable place to live. It robs our children and parents of opportunity. These are the reasons we have been working with partners across the country to design a long-term infrastructure plan that meets the needs of our communities. So in Budget 2016, we launched the first phase of our infrastructure plan. This initial phase makes vital and too often neglected repairs to our aging pipes and roads, builds and refurbishes affordable housing, and upgrades 70-year-old signaling systems in our subways. It is also invests in indigenous communities to build much-needed homes, childcare centers, nursing stations, and to ensure they have clean drinking water. And we did not waste any time rolling out the first phase. To give you an idea, consider this. My department has approved more funding for infrastructure projects in the last 4 months as was approved in the previous 5 years combined. And 65% of these projects are already underway. But this is only the first step. Early this week, my colleague, Minister Morneau, provided our government's fall economic statement, laying out the fiscal framework for our long-term infrastructure plan. It is an ambitious agenda. But as you know, generations ago, our nation made investments in the National Railway and the Trans-Canada Highway to improve the future prosperity and quality of life for every generation that followed. Now is the time to again make these transformative investments in our communities, in our country, and in our future. This is a huge new investment in Canada's infrastructure, including the work already underway. Our long-term plan will invest more than $180 billion in federal funding over the next 12 years. And we will do this by investing in 5 key areas: public transit, green infrastructure, social infrastructure, trade and transportation, and rural and northern communities. We are developing this plan to achieve 3 important goals: create long-term economic growth, build inclusive communities, and support a low-carbon green economy. And by investing in this way, we can build the foundation for cities that enable and drive innovation. More and more, we live in a world where competition for talent and jobs is not only between countries, it is also between cities. It is not only about Canada competing with France, but also about Montreal competing with Paris, Toronto competing with Chicago, and Vancouver competing with Chengdu. And make no mistake, we have some of the greatest cities on the planet, but they need our support. If we want to compete with cities around the world, we need our cities to be at their absolute best. Just to give you a sense of perspective, China is becoming a country of 26 mega city clusters with a population of up to 100 million in each. Italy's key political players are their 14 metropolitan cities like Rome, Milan, and Florence. And in the UK, is driving investment in northern powerhouse from Leeds to Liverpool to supplement the economic centers of London and Scotland. Our cities, small and large, and the people living in them are at the heart of innovation. This is why we need to partner with them to make sure they have what they need to thrive and innovate. So let me tell you about a specific initiative we are launching soon to further this objective of innovation in our cities. Our fall economic statement announced our intention to create a Smart Cities Challenge. Based on similar experience in the United States, India, and other countries, this competition will offer an opportunity for cities to innovate, take risks, and think outside the box, and to engage private sector, civil society, and citizens to design and implement these ideas. More details will come in the next few months. But we will be looking for big ideas. So let me give you a couple of examples. City of Toronto partnered with a number of non-for-profit and private sector partners to run a hackathon to tackle traffic congestion in the city. The winner, a group of volunteers working for 36 hours straight using GPS data from buses and streetcars to map the city's most unreliable intersections. Their theory being that unpredictability is the most frustrating part of commuting. I'm pretty sure you can all understand that. As a result, the city has now developed a specific strategy to tackle the most unreliable intersections in the city. Let me use another example, also related to traffic. MioVision is a Kitchener-based company that has developed technology to make traffic lights smart. By fixing cameras to a traffic light, MioVision can monitor traffic and adjust the light patterns, leading to a more efficient traffic flow throughout the city. And this is happening around the world. UK government launched a 24 million pound competition for a future city, which Glasgow won earlier this year. Their proposal laid out how public, private, and academic sectors can combine expertise and use cutting-edge technology to enhance day-to-day lives in the city. Glasgow's proposal covers several projects, including the creation of an integrated operations center for road management, greater use of green technology such as white street lighting, and a city dashboard giving real-time information on traffic flow, weather alerts, accidents, and emergencies, and waiting times. And these are just the few examples. My colleague, Mr. Baines, and I will have more details to announce on this competition in the coming months. And we hope that many of you will engage in this initiative. Not only do we want to help build innovative, inclusive, smart cities, we also need to innovate in how we deliver our infrastructure funds. So let me talk about a big innovation we launched this week. It is called Canada Infrastructure Bank. In a world where governments all levels never have enough resources to fund the demand for infrastructure, We wanted to find innovative ways to effectively mobilize private capital to supplement our huge public investment and build more infrastructure projects that will benefit Canadians. The federal government has previously had limited options to finance infrastructure. We gave grants, but if a proponent wanted to look to alternative financing, it was difficult, if not impossible, for us to participate. The Infrastructure Bank will broaden what we can offer proponents. It will add loans and loan guarantees at the federal rates, as well as equity participation into our toolkit. It will also be a center for excellence in infrastructure knowledge, providing advice for better planning and procurement decisions. Let me make a couple of things clear, though. Many infrastructure projects will have no need for the bank. They either are purely public projects or they're purely private projects where government should not be involved. What we are looking at is those strategic projects that sit in between, projects that offer a significant public benefit, but that would not happen without some government support. Not a grant, but perhaps a loan or a loan guarantee or a first loss equity position. Perhaps it's a clean energy transmission line or a large renewable project that helps a province get off coal sooner. A new transit corridor where land development along the line can be tapped for revenue. The Infrastructure Bank will give us the tools to engage in new ways where the proponent is supportive. Let me quickly repeat that. We will not require anyone to use this tool. We will work with willing partners who think this can offer them additional value to our more traditional tools. So to wrap up, I would like to tell you a story. This stuff I just talked about is exciting, at least to me. I'm pretty sure it's exciting to many of you. But we have to always remember the human side of infrastructure. We can sometimes get so caught in the big numbers and the huge challenges that we forget the power of infrastructure to change lives. Because we all know it is people that innovate. And the more people we can have at their best, the more innovation they will produce for a country. So let me tell you this story of a person that I came to know, a mother of 3 children who called my office when I was a city councillor. This happened about a year and a half before the last federal election. Their mother of 3 children was on the verge of being homeless. She had addiction issues, she had mental health issues, and she was lacking social skills. So she called my office asking for help, and luckily, because of the wonderful social service agencies that exist in our urban centers, we were able to find a stable place for their mother and her children to live. Friends, I ran into their mother just a couple of months before the federal election. So within that 1-year time frame, she was able to put her life together. She was staying at a stable place. She was getting the services she needed to get off addiction. And her children were back in school. That is the power of infrastructure. So just imagine for a minute, if that affordable place was not available to their mother, the loss to her, the loss to the society, and the loss to her children. That is the power of infrastructure. Now think about also about those 3 children. Would they have been able to be the leaders if they did not have the proper support? Would they have been able to innovate? So that's why we do things, and that's why we invest in infrastructure. So thank you so much for including me in this.